Adam, it's so good to see you on in Chicago, beautiful Monday afternoon. And I guess we're just both here today because I think we're excited about something that we've been dreaming up.
Mhm.
So I'd love to just kind of let you kick off of what the heck are we getting up to, Adam?
That is a great question. Very excited about this, by the way, and even though it's quite the mystery that we're building here. For the last number of years, we've been having this conversation about sort of really actually, it's economics at the macro as well as the micro level, and just thinking through how people change their lives, change their neighborhoods. And we've come up with a concept we think is interesting. We want to kind of dig into, and we call it One More Store. What does that mean, Al?
I know it sounds catchy. Everyone's super intrigued, I bet. So we're happy to introduce. We're here with One More Store. Why is this important? I think we'll go into our backgrounds a little bit, but I think we both aligned getting to know each other through the entrepreneurship community, especially in Chicago. There was a lot of emphasis in entrepreneurship and small business about starting your business. And then I think as we have grown in our careers, we realize, of course, it's important to grow your business. And one of the more tactical questions I think we've started to hear or we've just seen around the city is, what about this one more store? So I think you and I were having coffee once, and I joked and called it like local franchising. And I was like, what if this little coffee shop had one location in every neighborhood? And so I think the idea was to think about a way we could spread more awareness of how you have one store, but could you have one more store? What does that mean from hiring? What does that mean from getting a second location? What does it mean from being at one and having one needing to operate without you there? So I think this is something we're in a learner's mindset. I think both really sure what it takes. We aren't sure of all those experiences, but I think we're excited to learn. And I suppose, I wanted to ask you, Adam, just a little bit about your background. I'm sure some of the friends and family that, know us well are listening, but for some people who aren't, would love to hear how you kind of rose in this area and what your interest is.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. So I come from a traditional, so my parents were immigrants. They were from the Caribbean. And so I really only had two choices, doctor, lawyer. I chose lawyer. That was my initial start.
Great job.
Yeah, thank you. I was afraid of blood, so, it was pretty easy. But I practiced for a number of years, worked primarily in the regulated space, worked out of USDOT, did work with oil and gas, transportation, logistics. Really love that area. And actually, some of the history of this interest, frankly, comes from there. Working with a lot of the business people who own the companies or worked at the companies that we worked with on a daily basis at DOT, I was reminded of how much capacity, frankly, there is latent in some of these companies where maybe, there's an owner and there's, say, 100 people who work for a transportation company. Out of that 100 people who work for that transportation company, there's probably at least 10 of them who could run their own. And all of that would add to the capacity of the system. Frankly, would diversify the ownership class of those sorts of companies. There's lots and lots of black and brown folks who worked at those transportation companies who didn't own them and could. So I started to get really interested in the concept of, how business impacted people individually, and then sort of how that would echo out in their neighborhoods. So I've also gotten involved with starting a few funds, and I also work now in the kind of the early venture capital space with TechStars as a managing director there, and I love that work. But venture capital isn't the only asset class, and I'm very much still interested in small and medium-sized businesses and the impact they can have. And one thing I wanted to sort of jump on that, you mentioned when you're talking about One More Store, the concept, we were both, I think, really interested in the, in the way that like the uniqueness of these coffee shops, that you see in all these different neighborhoods is a great impetus, and it's a great illustration of, what it's like to have people who are entrepreneurial, but really maybe don't know how to run a business. And those are two very different things, and how they could benefit from some of this crossover. So I'm glad you mentioned that. But let me give you the chance to talk about your background. What do? You do lots of wonderful things and have done them. So tell me a little bit about how you come to this space.
Yeah, it's just nice to hear what we have in common. My father is an immigrant, he's from the Philippines. He actually ended up starting his own business when I was a kid, or actually before I was a kid, when my mom met him. My father is a wedding photographer, and then my mom was actually like, "Who's doing your books? Who's running your back of house?" And so I grew up in a in a house with two parents running a business, invoicing across the dinner table. So that was a really great experience in small business. My parents were avid small business supporters. I've done, road trips. I've been in 45 states, and the whole time, pre-internet searches, my parents were like, we're going to the hotel concierge. We're going to ask for like the next diner. I don't know if we ate at a chain the whole time. Like sometimes that got dicey. So, I was always looking for the local store to support. I started my stint in economic development in the Chicago mayor's office. What I was really struck by was my background, Adam, is in urban planning. And when you go to these meetings for neighborhood development, everyone's like, I really just want that restaurant. I want that sit down restaurant in my neighborhood. I want that kind of watering hole. But it's a very hard endeavor to like seed that investment. And we've seen a lot of, 50% failure rate in some of those kind of business categories in small, medium-sized business. But then you got some, I joke, there's a pizza spot in Chicago called Lou Malnati's. I'm like, well, that's not a massive chain. That's like a local chain. And, they have locations around the city. And so, it's like, how do you unlock those secrets of, you're in a different neighborhood and maybe they don't have that dry cleaner and they don't have that dentist office yet, but they could. And when I was at the city of Chicago, I just learned it's really expensive for entrepreneurs to run around looking at different sites, like guess about a different market. But I said, I think this is really important because if not, some of the larger national, multinational chains, they have very sophisticated technology, but we're asking a lot of our local stores. And so I thought that was really important. Currently, I run a program in Chicago called Get Cities. It stands for Gender Equality in Tech. And one of the focuses really directing venture capital. Like, I think we share that work in common to women and non-binary individuals. But like we said, it's not the only type of capital. Another thing fascinating I think about the city of Chicago, and we can compare notes as we get to know each other across this series, is entrepreneurship in Chicago can mean tech entrepreneur, but can also mean a small business entrepreneur. And so what I think you're seeing is like entrepreneurs want access to capital and how they grow, and they're going to grow a little different. Some are by locations and some are by venture capital. And so I think it's just getting more entrepreneurs understandings of different pathways they can pursue.
Yeah, I love that. And it really is so much about bringing latent entrepreneurial capacity online and sort of making use of all the funding and financing tools that are out there, as well as the different kinds of businesses that can grow, because the impact for the individual and the neighborhoods can be really vast, even if it seems like from the outside it's just a small business. So yeah, I'm very excited about this.
Yeah, I am too. And I think I'm excited to talk to you. I like to talk to you all the time, but I thought we could let everybody know who tunes in kind of what we're thinking about, what we're going to do.
Yes.
Short term and long term. So I don't
Yeah.
know if you want to head into what we're doing next.
Yeah, so I'll give us the first cut, and I'm sure I'll forget something important, and this will become a standard thing throughout the series because you'll remember more important things than I do. But our plan is to really start by having conversations, because neither of us will pretend to know all of this. I mean, we want to have conversations with people who are in the space. So, were we revealing the name of our? Well, here I'll talk about the concept first. We're going to talk to.
I think we've already said it with the name. Have we given away the name?
Oh, one more story. Yes, I knew the name of our guest. We'll talk about our guests next time. But
surprise guest.
Our surprise guest. That's right. But we're going to talk to a guest in the space who is currently running. Actually, she might be running multiple instances of businesses who have.
I think when I spoke to her, I was like, this might be a lot of one more stores.
Yeah, she's a stud and has lots of information to share and lots of knowledge to share and expertise to share, which is what we need. So she has experience, I know, not only in sort of standing things up on her own, but also extending things that exist. So doing the one more location, the one more store. So also to speak specifically about the kind of the store issue, we'll run into that a little bit. We'll probably be squidgy on store. Store won't necessarily mean brick and mortar. Sometimes it'll mean location. Am I right? Are you feeling the same way too? Yeah, I think that'll make sense.
I'm feeling the same way.
Yeah.
Different places to sell, acquire customers, retain customers.
Yeah.
Store is like a metaphor. But I think we're using it this year as an opportunity to learn. I always say that the How I Built This is about someone who like had one idea and then they hit like super big, and we're like, well, what about the in between or the incremental? So I think honing in on the, I think that's, we say it could be one more store, but it could be like one more store and then one more store and then one more store.
Exactly.
And then hopefully we can get together enough of these learnings, gather some of these entrepreneurs together and they can share their experiences. But, I think what Adam and I are really interested in is like, were there resources that they depended on? Were there programs they went through, right? Like lots of different programs out there. And then hopefully building up a bulk of, places where if someone's listening and they are like really excited, they can like go to this resource or navigate kind of with this learning we're going to develop. I'm already excited about that, Adam. I feel like I've been telling people that we're going to be doing this and they're already like, where is the program? And you're like, oh my goodness, no program,
It's a
just
program.
learning. So learning now and then program. But,
Yeah.
Hopefully, I think there's a long-term vision of like anybody who's been like, yeah, I'd really like another location, whether it's in your city or another city, like having that just be a little more achievable.
Yeah, no, and that's an important, I do think that's a great point to make, an important one to emphasize, that this is really a long-term plan. And, we're going to include contact information in whatever video we put out here, wherever we put this video out, we'll include our contact information. We'd love to hear from the folks who are listening to this, who come alongside. We don't expect there will be thousands at first, but we assume, of course, by video 2 or 3, there will be lots of folks out there. And then we want to hear from you. We want to hear your ideas. We'd love to talk to you. We'd love to get a sense of what we're missing, what we still need to talk about or look at, because this is a big problem. And I think, frankly, in some ways, the funding environment is shifting more towards this question, even with the last couple of weeks, that we're all, or maybe it'll be months by the time we put this out, but we're all sort of addressing these questions, which is like, okay, well, we've been playing in the venture space and everybody knows it exists. Are there other options? Are there other ways to make this work? And I think this is certainly one of them that we want to look at closely. So
I love it. Well, I'm excited, Adam. I think this is going to be a fun journey. Everyone, please reach out.
Yeah.
Hopefully you can share this video with your friends, family, people going through these questions themselves. And we're just looking forward to getting to know everyone in this community.
100%. I'm excited. All right, Elle, this is going to be fun.
Yay.
Nice. All right.
Thanks, Adam.
All right. Talk to you soon.